Hello, everybody. This is Tom Eckert here. You're listening to my podcast, Numerology, a GPS for the Soul. This is your place to learn about the true power of numerology and how to use it to bring out the best in yourself, understand your loved ones better, take wise decisions, and prepare for your future. In other words, how to live your life aligned with your true destiny. Take your time to educate yourself and share these podcasts with your friends and family so they too can enjoy the great benefits of numerology. Enjoy! Hello there, and welcome to all my listeners to yet another fascinating episode. Today, we're talking about what happens when a person embodies multiple fours in their chart, especially in their core numbers or the sacred triad. But before anything else, if you are new here, welcome to my podcast. In this podcast, we discuss numerology as a path for inner transformation, spiritual growth, self-understanding, and my attempt is to make numerology accessible, applicable, and grounded for everyday life matters. And I do my best to provide you with in-depth information so that you can apply numerology in order to live a better, a more conscious, a more balanced life that is also aligned with your soul, with your journey, and your deeper purpose. Now, here are a few ways you can dive deeper into numerology should you wish to do so. First and foremost, you can book a numerology reading with me. In a numerology reading, you can ask any question that is burning in your life and get precise answers, especially for you. You can read more about my readings and contact me through the link in the episode description and book your reading with me. Now, if you wish to study numerology on a deeper level or even pursue it as a career, I invite you to check out my numerology study paths. First of all, check out my self-study numerology course to learn the fundamentals of numerology in a comprehensive way at your own pace. You're able to do so on your laptop, on your tablet, or your mobile device. Soon, there's a new upcoming course about number combinations, so stay tuned. Now, if you want to go deeper and master numerology on a whole different level, you can sign up to my complete path of certification from beginner to numerology expert and get certified as a professional numerologist. To read more about both study paths, check out the links in the episode description. Number 4 is a bit like the black sheep of numerology. I've met many people throughout my career as a numerologist that really didn't like the fact that they are 4s or have dominant 4s in their chart. And while I tried to redeem number 4 many times from its bad reputation, today I'm going to flow along with the negative claims and reveal to you why indeed number 4 is the most terrible number. Just kidding, just kidding. Did I get you there? Anyhow, what I will do though is explain one or more of the challenging sides of embodying multiple 4s in your core numbers. Number 4, after all, is a very straight and strict number, for better or worse. Straightforward, I mean. Straightforward and straight. It tries to be perfect and to hold itself up to a high moral and ethical standard. Now, it's enough to have one very dominant 4 in your chart for it to become a nag, stiff and inflexible. So the question is, what happens when you embody multiple 4s? Now, by multiple 4s, I'm talking about 3 4s or more. Okay, if you embody 2 4s, yes, it's more intense for sure. But what I'm mostly referring to in this episode is 3 4s or more. Today, I will attempt to uncover some of the challenges that such people are faced with and what they need to learn in order to become better, um, you know, to function better with these numbers and stop being an annoying, I would say, four. Just kidding, just kidding. Did I get you again? Um, but seriously, I will reveal the challenges of embodying such a chart, explain the lessons they are faced with, the character challenges they have, and what they should do to resolve their difficulties. Now, remember that every number has its light and shadow sides. I like to dive into both so that we can see a complete picture. Today, as you probably already guessed, I will be focusing on the shadow sides of number 4 and especially repeating 4s so that we can broaden our understanding of numerological analysis. And also because, after all, it's only by seeing our shadow that we can access our deeper light. Number 4 believes in justice and law. When balanced, it is a lawful person, following moral values like integrity and honesty. They are committed and loyal, sometimes to a fault. The problem is that they can also think they are right to a fault. And this is certainly the case with multiple number 4s in one's core numbers. Number 4 constructs a worldview and tends to stick to it because it loves stability and consistency. It doesn't like changes and really dislikes life's calling for adaptation. Energetically, it is represented by the square, very stable but impenetrable. In life, this translates into personalities that really, really believe that their way of doing things is the only way of doing things. Their political opinions are the only true political opinions. All the way down to their way of cleaning the house is the only way it should be done. Excess for energy becomes a bit obsessive about telling everyone how things should be done. Now, if you grew up with parents who embody this particular structure I'm talking about, you probably know what I'm talking about. But it's not only about the right way, it's simply about always being right. Multiple 4s in a numerology chart create an excess, forgive me, create an excess that makes the person feel and believe that they are always right and that they are none other than the embodiment of justice itself. So they know what is just, and they are always right. So when you talk to them, they tend to be very closed, tough, and overly strict, constantly judging you. It's as if you're standing in front of a judge that weighs your every word on the cosmic scales of justice. And please let me make it very clear here. 4s do not own justice in any way, nor do they know better what is right. But they certainly believe that they do. And that's a problem that becomes really intensified when embodying multiple 4s. It's very hard to have a civilized debate with them because they are not good listeners. And new information doesn't really enter their being. They're a bit like closed bunkers. So even if you share something meaningful with them, they simply block it out. This is for two reasons. A, because they believe they are absolutely right and there's simply no need to listen to you. And B, because they are unconsciously afraid that new information will shake their stability. Okay, so we've covered the 4 being Mr. and Mrs. Justice. And now it's time to dive into their emotional world. I'm actually so enjoying judging the 4 back a little bit. Like, take that, number 4, for all those times you judged me. Just kidding, guys. Now, half kidding. No, really kidding. Now, emotions are a very scary territory for number 4 because emotions are, how should I say, not very controllable and not very stable. And so, how does 4 deal with them? Well, by controlling and hiding them. So, everything basically happens behind closed doors. Now, again, remember, I'm talking about multiple 4s. This is not necessarily what's going to happen with just one central 4, unless it's somehow imbalanced in other ways that I won't mention here. So everything basically happens, as I said, behind closed doors. They won't show you their real emotions. But if you are sensitive enough, if you are perceptive and meditative enough, you can hear and sense their true unspoken emotions when they are around you. Take into account that what I'm describing here, right, is in this entire episode is again like just the amplified shadow of the 4, right? Amplified by the repetition. So just like take that into account. This can also be the case when the 4 is a karmic debt, or if it has like a very disharmonious number next to it. Okay, that's what I'm gonna give away right here. Now, such a person will rarely admit to a fault or dare to show their weaknesses. Admitting to a weakness, after all, means that they were, God forbid, wrong. Oh my gosh, I'm a 4 and I'm wrong. This is impossible. You see, that's what they believe. And this really hardens them and makes them excessively stiff. But don't think for one moment that they are exempt from judgment. In fact, they are their own worst judge. They will scrutinize themselves relentlessly and mercilessly. That's why people with multiple 4s, whether they admit it or not, suffer from much self-hatred and a tremendous sense of guilt. They are truly haunted by such feelings. They are punishing themselves from inside and are very unforgiving, not only to others, but also to themselves. And so they carry this heavy load of guilt on their shoulders. And this can be, this can truly cost them their health and peace of mind. They get locked in on things almost like a pit bull's bite and they can't let go. Or more precisely, it's very hard for them to let go. It's very tight in there in the inner world, the emotional world of people with multiple 4s. It's suffocating and it's harsh. Now, please remember again that all numbers are both light and shadow, but that knowing our shadow, as I said in the beginning, is the way to unleash our greater and deeper light. And that's why it's equally important to know our shadows and speak them out loud, as we're doing here in this episode in full clarity. Okay, so Now I want to talk about something a bit more intense, and it's more like about hidden perversions of number four, and you will soon understand what I mean. But before I keep talking any further, if you are enjoying this podcast and you want to keep learning more grounded, applicable, high quality numerology, make sure to click the follow or subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell on the platform you're listening from, and make sure to become part of my numerology community. Also, make sure to check out the comment section and leave a comment on an episode you liked, share your thoughts, ask questions. I love to connect with you guys, and I always attempt to answer your questions. Now, if you have trouble finding the comment section, just make sure to pop into Spotify or YouTube. You can leave me a comment, and I'll surely do my best to answer you. So now, because the fours are so rigid, controlling, and hiding their emotions, it can also turn into a distorted world of quote unquote dirty secrets and hidden perversions. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about anything terrible, but for example, when it comes to sexuality, they may find it too exposing and vulnerable to admit to simple sexual urges. And so this will turn into twisted wishes for violent sex, aggressive sex, dominating and being dominated. So, in other words, behind closed doors and very much in secret, they will express all that suppressed, suffocated, controlled, and smothered energy in distorted ways. You may indirectly discover that your very close friends who seem, always so just and controlled is actually are actually, or is or act or are, I don't remember what I said, friend or friends. Um let's say friend is actually doing some pretty dirty things behind closed doors. Um and this is not only reserved to sexuality. It's simply life energy becoming distorted as a result of simply, excess rigidity and control. Sometimes the most controlling people, because all of us want to be opened up eventually. Like, so the most controlling fours are going to try to open themselves up in aggressive ways. And that's what I mean by like it becoming twisted or perverted. Okay. I hope you understand what I'm talking about. Furthermore, fours find it harder to be generous than other numbers. They can be especially stingy, petty, and transactional. But with multiple fours, this can be extreme. Sometimes it'll be very hard for them to simply say a good word, a genuine compliment, or even to simply be able to see the good in other people. Even the closest ones to them. It's not that they are not able to, but to actually admit it, again, will cost them some vulnerability and they just can't risk that high a price. And so their heart stays in a state of contraction. Contraction is a big word for multiple fours, especially emotional contraction. They may be better at giving something on a practical level because that, doesn't require of them to position themselves in any vulnerable place. So definitely not giving something that requires genuine heart to heart emotional exchange. That's too round for the square, if you will. And so while a balanced four can be an incredible friend for life, the multiple four or the multiple fours might still be a friend, maybe even, a steady friend, but lack the ability to really see the good in you sometimes and express gratitude for it. This is really a place for them to observe and practice, in fact. We'll talk about that really soon. Now, the last piece of shadow of the multiple fours I want to mention in this episode is simply the tendency to negativity. Too much four energy can make a person extremely negative, seeing only dead ends and no constructive way out, no creative way out. You see? They tend to see only problems, only the half empty glass. In terms of world events, it's not uncommon to hear them describe how we're all doomed, how the world is like a sinking ship, and so on and so forth, or to see them constantly dwelling on their problems, be they financial, medical, or otherwise. They tend to be very heavy and pessimistic, and to simply shut all doors and leave no place for solutions. Um, Now, even if you show them a positive way out, they simply won't take it. Because why bother, after all, when eventually, anyhow, it's all going to be doomed? It's a heavy energy that they carry, a karmic load, one could say. In fact, if you listen to my episode about how to detect challenging karma in the numerology chart, then you know that embodying any number three times or more in your core numbers is a type of intense karma. And what I've described so far is the karma of embodying three or more fours in your core numbers. Um, I'm sort of pondering if I want to mention one more interesting thing about this. I mean, I did say a lot, so I don't want to overload you with shadow. Okay, I think we're good. So now I want to talk about, about the lesson, right? Um, because no karma is just karma. There are no punishments, but only lessons, only learning. And here too, a person with three fours or more is meant to take on a life practice of opening up and of flexibility. They need to establish a regular routine practice in their life where they open up emotionally. It doesn't need to be too often, but rather regularity is key. They need to learn to soften their heart and embrace vulnerability. It's a bit like rounding the edges of the square, becoming smoother, if you will. They by no means are meant to become a 2, a 6, or a 9, or a 5, but they are meant to free themselves from the excess heaviness and closeness of the karma of 4. Learning to be grateful and sharing these words of gratitude can be very helpful. Expressing warmth and a good word to people they love is also very potent and healing for them as well. All of the above should become a life practice that's integrated into their daily life in small but steady doses. To date, I've recorded already a few episodes about the karma of multiple numbers in one's core numbers. It's always fascinating to see how numbers behave in their extremes and what they need to learn in order to find balance and harmony. If you happen to embody three or more fours in your chart, and what I've shared here in this episode applies to you, it's important that you use the knowledge here not to fortify your negativity, not as like a proof that everything is bad or negative about you, but on the contrast, as a catalyst for growth and transformation. To see your shadow clearly is the only way as I've said before, to gain access to the true light of your soul and embody a far truer, purer, and more refined light and wisdom. And by the way, I've mentioned my episode about analyzing or finding challenging karma. If you haven't listened to that, I highly recommend listening to that as well. It might give you some complementary insight to this episode. And so before we wrap this up, if you have enjoyed this podcast and you want to keep learning high quality, in depth numerology, make sure to click that follow or subscribe button, smash that notifications bell on the platform you're listening from, and become part of my growing numerology community. Also, remember to check out the comment section, leave your comments, share your thoughts, ask me questions. I'm going to be there, I'm going to answer you. And remember, if you don't find the comment section, just pop in on Spotify or YouTube. Don't forget to check out my professional numerology readings, an incredible way to get to know yourself. Very, very transformational. And of course, check out my self-study numerology course. A new one is coming up really, really soon. So stay tuned. And of course, check out my in-depth numerology certification studies if you want to acquire a real deep mastery of numerology. My friends, thank you for being with me here in another interesting episode. I hope you enjoyed it and benefited from it. And as always, I'll see you in the next episodes. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, and you want to go deeper into numerology, check out my website, tom-eckert.com. You can also book a numerology reading or even study numerology yourself through my courses. I'll see you in the next episode.